and welcome to MedShadodTV. My name is Sue Rabati, and I'm the founder of MedShadow.
I'm Jonathan Block, and I'm the content manager for MedShadow.
Very recently, the FDA came out with new guidelines on increasing the diversity in clinical trials for drugs. We find this to be very important, and we're delighted that the FDA has done this. There are 3 phases of clinical trials that a drug has to go through before it can be approved or disapproved by the FDA. The first phase is usually animal testing, and much research and testing goes on before you even get to a phase 1 trial. Should it pass a phase 1 trial, then it goes on to human trials at levels 2 and 3. The second trial level simply tests the safety. They give it to healthy people, and they just make sure that there are no unexpected adverse events, which generally means a significantly bad side effect or sometimes death. But by the time it's gone through all the animal trials, you can be pretty sure it's not going to cause death, but they're looking for adverse events. Phase 3 is, they're all important, but really the most important and the final step, and that is testing the drug, usually against a placebo, in a population of people who have whatever the disease or issue is that the drug is designed to work on. And this is where they can test both efficacy, which is does it work, and safety in the population who actually has some sort of compromised health because they're taking the drug. As I said, some people will get a placebo, which means no drug, no active ingredients in the drug at all, and some people will get the actual drug. There are risks to being in a clinical trial, but there are also benefits.
Can I just add something?
Yes.
Just to bring up the point as to what the FDA is doing that is new here, and that's the emphasizing and having more diverse patient populations in clinical trial. Now you're probably saying to yourself,
why do we care about
why
that?
do you care? Because you probably think we're all humans, which is true, but the thing is that first of all, there are certain populations that are more susceptible to some diseases such as diabetes and heart disease than others, certain ethnic groups. Mm-hmm. Also, we know as a fact that there are certain drugs from prior testing of drugs that work differently on women rather than men, so the dosing has to be adjusted. A good example of that is Ambien. Another thing is that there are certain groups of people that really don't participate in clinical trials, especially those who are 75 years and older, African Americans and females. The good news is that...
Particularly, don't forget, pregnant women were deliberately left out of clinical trials for many years, which meant that a pregnant woman who needed to take a drug, the doctor simply had to guess at what its effect might be on the woman whose entire system was changed because of pregnancy and on the fetus.
The good news, especially about the fact that there's not that many women, is that as part of this new initiative that Sue was talking about, is that they are going to emphasize getting more women into clinical drug trials.
And older people, I hope. Many trials take place overseas because a lot of American citizens don't like to be in clinical trials. And that's another problem because ethnic background can have a significant difference. Do you have any examples of an ethnic background?
Absolutely. One of the best examples is a blood thinner known as Coumadin. The generic name is warfarin, and research has discovered that African Americans require higher doses in order to achieve the same therapeutic effect that you would see in Western European and Asian populations.
So it seems to work the same, or at the same efficacy at the same dosage level for Western Europeans and for Asians, but when African Americans
they need more
Africans.
Coumadin in order to get the same therapeutic effect. Another good example, which is another drug that our audience may be familiar with, is the cholesterol lowering medication known as CRESTOR or ROSUVASTATIN. That's a group of it's part of a group of cholesterol lowering drugs known as statins. And again, through additional research, it was discovered that in Asian populations, there should be a lower starting dose in order to minimize the possibility of side effects.
The FDA is putting out a call asking Americans to volunteer for clinical trials and trying to make it easier to find clinical trials. Now, there are some issues with clinical trials. There can be some risk. Some unexpected side effects or adverse events could happen, but you can be assured that your rights as a patient are protected both by law and by an ethics bureau called the Institutional Review Board. So before any clinical trial is set up with humans, it has to pass the ethics board. In addition, particularly if you're in a phase 3 trial where you may be taking this drug because you are looking for a new cutting edge drug, which this might be, you will be getting excellent health care. Even if you get the placebo, you'll end up getting excellent health care. So all in all, you're doing something good for yourself, you're doing something good for the medical community, and helping hundreds of thousands of people get access to a drug that could be very, very helpful. Or proving that a drug is not helpful, which is just as important. Keeping drugs that aren't effective or whose side effects are so strong that they negate the value of the drug, to know that before it goes on the market is a wonderful savings in healthcare.
Exactly.
Good. Well, thank you. I hope you look for the opportunity to participate in clinical trials. So, Jonathan, are you going to look for a clinical trial to participate in? You can do a phase 2. You're perfectly healthy.
You never know. I guess I have to go online and start seeing if there are actually any trials in the New York area that I can take part in.
Good. And thank you for not asking me. Please come back soon and check out our website.
Thank you.